Michael Jackson and his siblings' journey, full story. Introduction. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's travel back in time. Not thousands of years ago, but just a few decades. To a small house in Gary, Indiana, where a family of 11 lived, loved, struggled, and dreamed. This is the story of the Jackson family, a journey of children who rose from humble beginnings to change the world of music forever. Gary, Indiana, the beginning. The year is the late 1940s and early 1950s. Joseph Jackson, known as Joe, works in a steel mill. It is grueling, heavy labor. But he carries another dream, music. At home, he and his wife Katherine Jackson raise a growing family. They live in a small two-bedroom house at 2300 Jackson Street. The house is crowded, but filled with love, laughter, and discipline. One by one, the children arrive. Rebby, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Latoya, Marlon. Then, in 1958, a boy is born who would change music forever. His name is Michael Joseph Jackson. After him came Randy, and finally, Janet. 11 people, one tiny home, and yet, this house would echo with music that touched the whole world. Early music in the family. Joe saw talent in his children. He taught them discipline, focus, and structure. Music was no longer just a dream, it was becoming a family mission. He handed guitars to his sons, taught them chords, and insisted they practice every day. Tito played guitar. Jermaine took bass and vocals. Jackie added harmonies. Marlon learned the steps. And little Michael, just 5 years old, showed a spark that no one could ignore. Michael's voice was pure, his energy unstoppable. When he danced, he lit up the room. Though the youngest at the time, he naturally became the frontman of what would soon be called the Jackson 5. The Jackson 5 is born. They began by playing in local talent shows, community centers, and small clubs. At first, people underestimated them, 5 kids with guitars and microphones. But the moment Michael sang, the audience knew something special was happening. His voice was clear, emotional, far beyond his years. And together, the brothers had chemistry, harmony, and rhythm. In 1967, they won an amateur night competition at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York, a proving ground for many great artists. That victory put them on the path to something greater. Motown and the breakthrough. The Jackson 5 auditioned for Motown Records in Detroit. Berry Gordy, the legendary founder of Motown, was impressed. He saw in them not just a talented group, but the future. In 1969, the Jackson 5 released their first single, I Want You Back. It exploded onto the charts, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then came ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. 4 consecutive number 1 hits. The world had never seen anything like it. And at the heart of it all was little Michael, just 11 years old, singing with a soul that seemed to carry generations of feeling. Fame and pressure. The Jackson 5 became international superstars. They toured, recorded, appeared on TV shows, and became household names. Their synchronized dance moves, colorful outfits, and joyful energy captured the imagination of millions. But with fame came pressure. The brothers were still children, but their lives were now filled with rehearsals, interviews, and performances. Behind the smiles, it was hard work, sometimes exhausting. Michael, especially, felt the weight. Though he loved music, the demands of fame would shape his childhood in ways both inspiring and painful. Growing individually, as the years went on, each sibling sought their own path. Jermaine found success as a solo artist while remaining connected to the group. Jackie contributed his songwriting and business sense. Tito became known for his guitar skills and later pursued blues music. Marlon brought humor and heart to the family dynamic. Latoya stepped into a career of her own, navigating music and television. Rebby, the eldest, chose a quieter path at first, raising her family before later releasing music. Randy joined the group in the 1970s, helping continue the Jacksons' success. And finally, Janet, the youngest, would rise in the 1980s and 90s to become one of the most iconic performers in her own right. Each Jackson sibling carried a piece of the family's legacy. Michael's rise. Even within this talented family, Michael's star shone brightest. In the 1970s, while still performing with his brothers, he began recording solo work at Motown. Songs like "Ben" showed his emotional depth. But it was in the late 1970s and 80s, when he moved to Epic Records, that Michael's career skyrocketed. "Off the Wall," "Thriller," and "Bad" became global phenomena. His music videos revolutionized the industry. His dance moves, the moonwalk, the spins, the tilts, became legendary. Michael was no longer just a pop star. He was the king of pop. The family journey together. Though Michael's solo fame grew beyond imagination, the Jackson family remained deeply connected. They performed together as the Jacksons, creating new music and touring the world. They faced struggles, financial issues, personal challenges, and the pressures of fame. But they also celebrated triumphs, sold-out tours, platinum records, and the knowledge that they had changed music forever. The legacy of the Jacksons. From that tiny house in Gary, Indiana, to the world's grandest stages. The Jacksons' journey is one of resilience, talent, and unity. They gave the world not just entertainment, but joy, rhythm, and unforgettable moments. Michael's legacy as a solo artist remains unparalleled. Janet's reign as a global superstar redefined what it meant to be a woman in pop and R&B. And the rest of the siblings carved their own paths, reminding the world that the Jackson family was a force of nature. A quiet reflection. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine the Jackson children gathered in their small living room. Joe urging them to practice. Catherine smiling, humming along. Michael, still so small, singing with a voice that would one day echo across the planet. His brothers and sisters beside him, each with their own spark. From humble beginnings to global fame, their journey was extraordinary, and though their paths were not always easy, their music continues to live. Reminding us of the power of family, of dreams, and of a little boy from Gary, Indiana, who sang his way into history.